Welcome back to The Rancher's Voice, the podcast where the heart of agriculture meets the pulse of today's industry. From policy changes to leadership stories in the Western lifestyle, The Rancher's Voice dives into the stories that matter most to ag producers. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Rancher's Voice. I'm your host, Ellie Brighton with the Montana Stockgrowers Association. And with me today is Keni Reese-Larry. She's my co-host for the day.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm usually behind the camera on these episodes, so forgive me for any faux pas. This is my first podcast, but excited to chat a little bit today. So today we just finished up MidYear Meeting in Butte last week. So we thought for this week's podcast, for those of you who were not able to join us in Butte, we would talk a little bit more about what happened at MidYear, any of the policy that got passed, some of our speaker topics, that kind of stuff. So, that's what we were going to talk about. Any thoughts, Ellie, on
I thought
MidYear?
It was good. This was my second MidYear.
Yeah.
Last year was Miles City. This year's Butte. So obviously, like, a different side of the state.
Yeah.
Like, totally opposite.
Yeah.
But I thought it was great. I thought the vibes were really good. Everybody was in a good mood. I mean, I think that's kind of how it's been with the market the way that it is. But that was really fun. It was wonderful weather.
Yeah.
All of those things were in our favor.
Yeah. Well, and just in general, the event, I'm the event planner, so I always love to hear that people are having a good time and that kind of stuff. But yeah, everybody seemed to be in a super positive mood. We had over 200 people join us, and I've been planning MidYear. That was, I think, my 5th or 6th MidYear I've planned at Stockgrowers, and that's been the most attended event for MidYear that we've seen. So we were like super pleasantly surprised with Butte having that kind of attendance. And I think overall folks had a really good time. The hotel was super great. Again, like Ellie said,
awesome facilities.
The weather was super nice. So it was just kind of like a fun summer get together.
It was good.
And so for those of you who have not experienced our MidYear before, it is 2 half days basically of general sessions where we do some like educational and industry content. And then we also break out into our committee meetings. So we've got tax and ag finance, beef production and marketing committee, and then land use and environment. So Ellie is going to give us a little overview of what happened during the policy meetings. So kick it off.
So again, I think we've talked about this on a previous episode, kind of how our policy works, but kind of as a little refresher, policy is generally passed at annual convention and it goes through first, second, and third reading there. But if somebody wants to bring forward policy at MidYear, then it just is adopted as interim policy until annual convention when it goes through second and third reading. So we had 3 policies. 2 of them were brought forward by the committees. So the committees always meet before our annual convention in MidYear. And so at these committee meetings, kind of issues, I guess, are discussed, what's going on in the state and federally, and just making sure that the policy that we have covers those. So we did one on federal agency authority. So just re-emphasizing the fact that we support policies that are grounded in sound science and fall under the agencies that have the statutory authority to make those decisions, and also just making sure that the rulemaking is transparent and that sort of thing. So it's something that we've always taken care of, something we've always taken into consideration, I guess,
but just made it a more official stance.
We had another one on the sale of federal lands. If you've read news at all lately, you've seen that there's been a lot of conversation around the sale of federal lands, and just kind of emphasizing our position on that we don't want to lose AUMs, basically. From the sale or transfer of federal lands. And then the other policy that was brought forward was about exempt wells. This was brought forward from one of our members from the floor. The policy really just emphasizes the protection of senior water rights in water development moving forward in the state. So
very good.
Pretty light. Not too many policies. I thought we had good committee meetings. Usually in those committee meetings we also have speakers. So we did this year as well. We had updates from state agencies, some federal agencies, and I think that was about it. Yeah. It was good.
Well, those policy meetings, as someone who's not in the policy world
Mhm.
necessarily all the time are always very interesting to see, from the ground, like boots on the ground, like
Yeah.
what the ranchers are concerned about
Yeah.
and bringing forth. And then it's kind of the basis of our whole association is the grassroots policy. So always a very important aspect of all of our meetings. So excited that people were ready to get
Yeah, it was well
involved and
attended
yeah.
and people had lots of questions, which was good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought they were successful. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so moving on from policy, some of what we call our general sessions, we like to bring in some industry speakers and just give the latest news on the
Mhm.
industry to keep people educated and update on the issues. So for our opening general session, we basically had three sections of speaking here. So Rayleigh Honeycutt, our executive vice president here at Stock Growers, did a welcome, as well as Leslie Robinson, our MSGA current president. One exciting thing that Rayleigh talked about
Mhm.
was our new website launch. In case you haven't seen on social media at Montana Stockgrowers, we just launched our new website. We're very excited about it. Me and Rayleigh have been working
I
on that for a few months
Kenny's
now.
put a lot of work into it, so
Really
round of
excited. Yeah.
applause.
Snaps for us as the team, but we're really excited about it. It's going to have a lot of new features that
Mhm.
make just life a little bit easier for our rancher audience. So there's going to be like bill tracking, which we released in this last legislative
Mhm.
session, but just re-amplifying that and making it a little bit easier. And then congressional bill tracker
Yep.
as well. That one's new. Any industry programs that you can apply for as a rancher will live on this website as well. We've got some signups. So for
Mhm.
our weekly email newsletter, you can sign up for that, for our texting as well. And just a lot of really fun things to come in the future. Can't say too much about it right now, but in the next few months, we'll see some really exciting stuff. So that was the website.
I do sorry to
Yeah, go
interrupt,
ahead.
but I do feel like it is going to be an even better resource. Like that's
Yes.
kind of what we're emphasizing is like
Yeah.
how can we make this the best resource for our members?
Yeah.
So I am personally excited from our end of things
Yeah.
to be able to share things quicker, I guess, and
Yeah.
more clearly and everybody have access to it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and just
I'm
like
excited.
really reorganizing it to make it super user
Yeah.
friendly because I know in the past it was kind of like, where does this live
I
again?
mean,
Where
I
does
couldn't
that
find
live?
stuff
And
sometimes.
yeah,
Like
so just trying to make it as user friendly as possible and really easy to navigate to again, like make sure our members are able to do their job on the ranch and then they become a member of Stock Growers to make their lives
yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
And so this is a resource to make your life easier, to make your neighbor's life easier. So please share our website, take a look at it and peruse it and let us know of anything that you'd like to see on it. And I'd love to take that feedback. So yeah, anyway, moving on, we also had Kim Brackett with National Cattlemen's Beef
Mhm.
Association with us. She is currently their vice president.
Yes.
She's out of Idaho, if
Yes.
I'm correct. And then she drove up to see us in Butte, which was really cool.
Mhm.
And Ellie's going to talk a little bit more about what she talked about.
Yeah. So she primarily hit on policy things, of course. That's kind of NCBA's focus. We talked a little bit about the reconciliation tax bill, the one big beautiful bill, and some of those
The
the
BBB.
BBB, yes, some of those tax provisions, which I don't want to go too in depth, but many of them are relative to estate planning, the death tax, also just some general business tax exemptions, a lot of repeal. Um, and kind of going back to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. So all things we're super excited about and things that kind of align with our producer profitability initiative.
Yep, which is
So
really exciting to
yeah,
see.
it's
Yeah.
great to see on a national level.
Mm-hmm.
And we've chatted about it too in previous episodes, kind of more in depth on some different bills that were out there in Congress, and then they're kind of being wrapped up into this one big beautiful bill. So that was a big piece of her topic. We also talked about the Make America Healthy Again agenda and the MAHA report that just came out last week or the week before. There's a lot of conversation that's really positive around red meat, which we're super excited to see.
Yep.
There is some concern on the grain farming side of things and chemical usage and some issues there. So we will be tracking that closely, and so
Yeah.
will NCBA, of course. And then she also hit on some Endangered Species Act issues. There's a lot of changes going on with this administration and this new Congress with Endangered Species Act. There's amendments in the House. There's also some federal rulemaking going on there. And then we have the Pet and Livestock Protection Act. This is also a piece that comes out of, I believe, the House as well. And it's primarily focused on wolf depredations. So, yeah. Lots of things. We could talk about this. We could talk about federal issues for hours. So I'm trying to keep it short and sweet, but.
Yes, that's the kind of the overarching theme of our events in general. It's just like so much stuff crammed into like
so much
2
information.
days. But yeah, I always feel like I'm drinking out of a fire hydrant when it comes to all of this. So that's why you listen to these episodes. So
we can go more in depth.
We can just give you a summary and there you go. So then next in our opening general session, we also had Brian Bledsoe. He's been a reoccurring speaker at some of our events with our, along with our ranch weather radar program that you get as a exclusive MSGA member benefit. So he is a former meteorologist and climatologist. And so if you're an MSGA member, you're probably very familiar with Brian. We send out a lot of like weather updates that he's involved with. And then monthly updates as well. So he gave us an outlook, kind of looking into the summer and kind of into the fall, winter. Basically, the short and sweet of it is, unfortunately, the summer is just going to be hotter and drier than average.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. He did say, though, I will say, if you're listening to this in the first week or so of June, he did say we were going to have some good moisture to start out with June, is what he said. So we'll see how that comes to fruition. But yeah, he did say the rest of the summer is not looking super duper great. So plan accordingly with that. And then when it comes to looking into the fall and winter, he just said that at this point, it's very uncertain. I know during his presentation, and I'm not a climatologist, so this is not my expertise, but he did just keep saying like he doesn't know whether it's El Nino or La Nina yet. And so he was just like, the key point is that we're uncertain about this fall and winter. So, but hopefully it turns out to be positive. We will just have to kind of wait and see there. So
it's been, I mean, just in Helena, it's been a weird spring. Lots of rain early in the spring, but it's still super brown here. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So you're just gonna have to keep checking in on those range weather radars. And just see. But yeah, always nice to have Brian come join us. He loves coming to Montana and we love the services that he provides to our members. So really excited about that.
It was
great. Then later that day, so opening general session was on Thursday, May 29th. And then later that day, we also have our Sunset Banquet, which is a fundraiser for our foundation. So, we were really excited to host that. It's always a very fun event. Had, again, over 200 people at that event. We open it up for people in the local community to come join us, as well as obviously our Stockgrowers members and attendees of MidYear Meeting. I believe these numbers are like super preliminary, but we raised over $13,000 for the foundation there, which is like super excellent. All of that money goes back into the foundation and their programs to support scholarships, ranchers, environmental stewardship, education,
outreach, all those things.
All of those things that are pillars of the foundation. So super exciting.
And it was so fun.
It was so fun. We had an amazing prime rib dinner.
Yeah.
Like it was so good.
Yeah. I've thought about it since then. It was really, really good.
Like my husband took my plate too and had like double the servings because it was so really good. And then Kyle Shobe and the Welcome Boys closed us out for our sunset after party, and
they're always a hit.
Yeah, always a hit. Dance the night away. Gene and Cheryl Curry are on the dance floor
tearing
all night
it
long,
up.
tearing it up. Favorite part of the event is watching all the folks out there dancing. So. Yep, the Sunset Banquet closed us out on Thursday night, and then Coffee Talks started the next morning.
Yeah, bright and early.
So that's kind of a more fun event that we do. We started a few years ago at MidYear. We do like a fun little like Bloody Mary bar and have people kind of come in and we talk about not necessarily like industry
Yeah.
necessarily stuff. Like it's not all
It's
business.
more
Yeah,
culture,
we like to have a
local
little bit of fun.
history. Yeah.
Definitely local history. We had Chris Fisk, and if you're
Mhm.
a listener of this podcast, you're probably familiar with Chris. He did an episode with Rayleigh and Ellie
Mhm.
about Butte's colorful history.
Very colorful. Very colorful. And he elaborated even more in the coffee talks.
Yes.
I sat through that one, and I mean, yeah, it was I
Yes.
learned new things. Even
Yes.
after our hour and a half recording of the podcast a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago, there was more.
Yes.
So,
And he's just a very like funny,
yeah,
engaging
he's a great
speaker.
speaker.
And everybody was kind of like just waiting for the
Drawn
next
in.
line. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
drawn in.
Yeah.
And afterwards, like he had a line of people waiting on
Mhm.
him to talk more about stuff. And I think he had like some connections with people in the crowd of like
Definitely.
had worked when he was in his younger days on
Mhm.
their ranches or like had taught their kids and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So always like a small world in
Yeah.
Montana, especially in the ag industry. So that was super exciting to see. And then we closed it out for
Mhm.
closing general session on Friday, May 30th. Covered again a ton of stuff here. Turk Stovall, MSGA's first vice president, covered his time at the Common Ground Summit. Do you want to give them a little explanation of what the Common Ground Summit is?
So, the Common Ground Summit was something that kind of came together. I guess I would not to pat ourselves on the back, I guess, but post our producer profitability initiative. And the idea behind it was kind of a national conversation about what do we have in common, where do we have common ground,
Yeah.
and how can we move forward with the changes that we need to see in the ag industry.
Yeah.
And so Turk Stovall went. He was the moderator of the event,
Mm-hmm.
also represented stock growers there. And from what I heard, it was an excellent conversation. People really kind of continued on with many of the points that we had discussed at our producer meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of excitement and just like hype, I guess,
Yeah.
around what's going on and the concept of coming together to move forward important policy priorities, even if we don't agree on everything else.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Was that kind of the sense
No,
you got?
I definitely got that from his speech too. And he just kind of went through like what the process was like. Like they didn't move on from a conversation without
Yeah.
having 100% consensus.
Yeah.
Which is very hard to do in
So
this
hard.
industry. So that was like really exciting to see. He pulled up their website during his presentation and just really encouraged people to go to, I think it was www.commongroundsummit.net to learn a little bit more and to sign up onto like in support of the Common
Yeah.
Ground Summit and what they're doing. So if any of you listeners are like looking to get more involved
Yeah.
or wondering what it is, that website is a great resource. And then as well as stockgrowersmtbeef.org/profitability.
Yep.
We have some links to the Common Ground Summit there as well. So we had a ton of Montana participation in
We
that
did.
Common Ground Summit.
Yeah.
I know we had at least 3, maybe even 4 members who went to the summit. There were only, I think, 40 people there total.
Yeah, it was a
and
strict
then
list. Yeah.
and then in terms of like signing on to the document, like Montana's list of people is like very long and extensive. And
Yay,
so
Montana.
we're super excited about that. It just goes to show like people in Montana are very excited about the
Yeah.
conversation and in real support of making real change in the industry.
And it's
to,
relevant. Like these are relevant issues.
Yeah, and to
Yeah.
make us, move this industry forward in a positive and impactful way
Yeah.
together and to have that conversation together. So that was super exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Then Dr. Sharika Labajwa also graced us with her
Yes.
presence.
Yes.
We love having her come give us some updates on
So
the
fun.
MSU College of Ag. She really just talked about, enrollment numbers,
Yeah.
what things the college is doing. She also introduced maybe not introduce is the right word because he wasn't there, but the new president, talked a little
Yeah.
bit about him, and just kind of transitioning into this new presidency and that kind of stuff. So she did great.
And it was good too. I think there
Yeah.
was, I don't know, to me, it felt like there was a bigger population of younger people at our
Yeah.
event than there has
Yeah.
been in the past. So whether it's people that went to MSU and are just out and are still, engaged in what's going on, or people that are, there were collegiate stock growers there as well. And so I thought that was really relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, and then to close out the entire meeting, Matthew McQuaig with Cattle Facts came in and gave us a market outlook. I don't think you were in
I
there
wasn't.
at the
No,
room.
I was getting
So
ready for
yeah, so
policy.
I was kind of in the room, and again, I'm not an expert. I'm a marketing girl, you guys. Like, I'm not an expert
cattle
here.
marketing.
Yeah,
like
not cattle marketing. I'm a graphic designer.
Yeah.
But I will say just some key takeaways from there is he said that consumer demand of beef is just continuing to go up and raise the roof. Like, they are very excited about that, which we are obviously as well. And then he said that the cattle herd is starting to be rebuilt, and they do foresee that it rebuilding in 2026, but it's just going to be slower than in previous cycles is what I was understanding from the presentation. So all moving in the right direction, just, baby steps, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then just to pull out some specifics, he says cattle markets have likely peaked for this year, though we will see smaller than usual fall drop with an annual average of $360 plus expected for 550-pound steers on a U.S. average. So that's just another little a key takeaway that you can get from his presentation. So in a nutshell, that's midyear. Like, it was quick. It was a lot of information, but it was a lot of good conversations too. So yeah.
Midyear is I mean, I guess I like all of our events. Yeah, I have to say that because you're the event planner. No, I'm kidding, but
I'll hurt you if not.
No, our events are great, but I mean, I like midyear too, just because it is a more relaxed kind of environment. So there's a lot more conversations that happen. People like have time. And I feel like there's just more time too to go into questions in the policy meetings and even in the general sessions. It feels like a little bit of a smaller environment. You can ask these questions, have these conversations. So that's always really productive. Yeah, I think. I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of wraps up our mid-year conversation. We did want to introduce a new segment to the podcast.
Keni's brainchild.
I've been thinking about this while doing yard work in my yard for the last few weeks, but we kind of wanted to start a new segment just to highlight some of our favorite things in the Western industry. It could really be anything. Like, I'm putting no parameters on it, so
which is almost harder.
Yeah, it kind of is. It does make it a little bit harder, but anything from like Western music to ranch products to podcasts to, I mean, for the girly pops, like skincare and that kind of stuff. Like, I know tallow is making a comeback right now in skincare. So we just wanted to kind of like talk about that. And if our listeners, you guys have anything that y'all want us to review or take a look at, like, please send us that. That would be so fun.
Yes.
But yeah, so I'll start with mine. Okay. So I'm like a big Texas country or red dirt country. Why. I know. For those who don't know me, I am from Texas and I'm trying not to be an annoying Texan right now. But it's the Turnpike Troubadours are like one of my favorite bands in the world. Red dirt country is what I will call it. But they just came out with a new album called The Price of Admission. I've been obsessed with the album in general lately, but specifically I think it's their single off of this album called On the Red River, and just love the vibes. It reminds me of where I grew up. I literally grew up on the Red River, so like it really hits home.
Nostalgic.
Yeah, it's very nostalgic. And so yeah, I just love that song, love the vibe of it, and it's been on repeat for me for the last few weeks. So
I have not listened to it yet, but my sisters are obsessed with Turnpike, so I'll beef up.
Yes,
listen to them so I can talk to them about it.
Yeah.
I guess my favorite product thing right now is probably a bracelet I bought a couple weeks ago. I love jewelry, so honestly, my favorite thing will probably be jewelry multiple times. But it is a buffalo nickel bracelet, and it's just like, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 of them just attached. I thought it was fun because it's a little different than like a Navajo pearl bracelet or an engraved bracelet. So that's part of the reason I liked it. I was shopping in Big Fork, just kind of walking around, and I saw it. And then I was like, no, I don't need to buy it. I have other things to buy. But I ended up going back because I loved it so much. And I'm really excited about it. So if I had it with me, I would show you guys, but I don't. But
that's how you know you really like a product, though. So when you think about it later and you're like, dang, I gotta go back for
Yeah.
that. Like, that happened to me. I do that all the time, like thrift shopping. And that's how I bought the earrings I wore to my wedding. Like, I
they're so
went in
pretty.
there, I was like, just give me a minute, I'll think about it. And then I came back and I was like, I gotta get these. So, yeah, that's how you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's probably a good investment, right?
Yeah.
Because they're just gonna the nickels are gonna go up in value. I hope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do the nickels on those type of coins have dates on them?
I didn't look.
Okay.
They're kind of soft, like they've been worn. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd even be able to see.
Yeah.
But I should look.
We'll
That's a great
report
question.
back at how vintage
how
and
old they
antique
really
these
are. They're
Yeah.
probably all different.
Yeah. But that's kind of
But-
like, I have a ring that I think a lady in Montana popularized those spoon.
Yeah, I love those.
Or I think they make bracelets, but they were
Yeah, they do.
popularized with the rings. And so I got one of those, I think from a different vendor, but it was like from the 1800s. Like,
gosh.
the guy that was selling them had a story for like every single one. Maybe he was
That's
making
really
it up,
cool.
I don't know. But
Well,
I
it's
liked
good marketing
it.
if he
Yeah.
was.
The marketing was good. And yeah, like they take like these vintage spoons and it has like gold, or I mean not real gold, but like gold
Yeah.
and silver on it, and it's just like one of my most unique pieces. And it's just like really cool.
And there's a fun story behind it.
And it's like you get to reuse old
Yep.
stuff and like repurpose it, and
Yep.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything
So
with
fun
the story.
things.
Yeah. But yeah, if y'all have anything that you want to suggest us listen to or take a look at, let us know. Send us a message on social media. And yeah, that kind of wraps it up
I think that's
for
it.
for this episode. So yeah.
So if you missed mid-year, you
Yeah.
have to listen.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed this episode, follow us on anywhere you can get podcasts. The Rancher's Voice is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And then follow us on Facebook for Montana Stockgrowers. And we will see you next week.
See you next time.
Bye, guys.